To another modern mind ancient book. We're going back to move forward. We're finding a love for the law, the prophets, and the writings. My name is Roger. I'll be your host. If you'd like to reach out to us, please do modern mind ancient book at gmail.com. We're going to be talking today about the book of Ephesians. We have with us today, as usual, Pastor Pete.
Good evening.
How are you today?
Doing good.
Good. And Mr. Nicky J.
I really appreciate it. You've got that intro down, man. You got the announcer voice and everything. Going back to move forward.
And in this corner.
Oh, yeah.
So, the book of Ephesians, boys. What do we know about this?
Go ahead, Pastor Pete.
It was written to the church at Ephesus.
Maybe.
Most likely.
Yeah, the earliest manuscripts have that,
Yes.
right? But it's an impersonal letter.
Yes.
So,
It could be passed around more than one use.
What else are we looking for? It's written by Paul.
Written by Paul. Yeah, basic stuff,
Yeah,
right?
right.
It has stuff about mysteries and faith and the new man and all that kind of thing in it. Great book, probably really Gentile.
Yes.
So
I think we've reached that point.
yeah, it continues, right? And it continues now.
At that turning point there.
That we started to talk about in the book of Colossians. So Ephesians actually fits a similar profile.
Right.
So Ephesians is the traditional title, but it may not be the original address. It is written by the Apostle Paul. The best and earliest manuscripts don't have the identification of Ephesians.
Right.
So the question is this: was it written as a circular epistle to be circulated among the churches of Asia Minor, Ephesus being one of the primary churches in the area?
Right. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, because as we talked about in Colossians, now there's a lot of people who just aren't very educated.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And so, the book or the letter of the Ephesians, it would make a lot of sense to have a circulating letter. Right? Here's a general letter about what our faith actually looks like.
Right. And as we talked about with all of them, Paul was very intentional in his writing.
Right.
So if he didn't specify, it makes sense that the most generous explanation to his logic would be the appropriate one, which would be that he wrote it to serve as many people as he could.
A tactical man, an intelligent person.
Exactly.
Yeah, Paul by all means and methods was a very high IQ individual.
Right. I mean, he was, before he believed any of this stuff, that was where he got his credibility from.
Yeah, you don't get to study under great Hebrew rabbis if you're not above average, and significantly above average.
And Paul, among all of them, he touted his own credentials so that he could tear them down. And said, I don't come to you with all the flowery language and all the things that I could, my educated ways. All those things that I used to value, now I don't count as important anymore. But he still mentioned them because it kind of does matter to some members of the audience who would look at somebody like that and say, okay, well, if this really educated guy is believing this stuff, he's presenting it in this way, maybe I should take a second look. And it wasn't because
he definitely knew his stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it adds a lot of credibility. So I mean, we're talking about the historical aspect of this book. Right. Who was the author? Well, the author was an incredibly tactically minded, highly intelligent individual who was in prison. So he sent out a letter to circulate among the churches. Reasonable. Right? So Paul's identified as the author in chapter 1, verse 1. He wrote during his time of imprisonment. The imprisonment was in Rome toward the end of his life. Paul had evangelized the area of Ephesus during his third missionary journey. We talked about this a while back. While in Ephesus, Paul had the opportunity to work and minister with Priscilla and Aquila, other Greeks.
Right.
It was in Ephesus that Priscilla and Aquila were able to explain to him the way of God more accurately, that's to Apollos. Apollos was a powerful apologist for the Christian faith, another Greek. Paul also met some disciples of John the Baptist and was able to explain to them the gospel of Jesus Christ. These were Jews who hadn't yet even heard.
Right.
Interesting. They were at a synagogue, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. As was his custom, Paul entered the synagogue of Ephesus and boldly explained the kingdom of God. His teaching was eventually met with great opposition, so that he withdrew to the school of Tyrannus to evangelize and disciple the people. The Christian faith was called the Way by the multitude. God performed many extraordinary miracles through Paul, probably in contrast to the extensive demonic magic and idolatry that dominated the city. A group of Jewish exorcists were attacked by evil spirits because, as non-believers, they tried to cast them out in the name of Jesus. This Jesus we know, this Paul we know, but you we do not know. The gospel of Jesus Christ had so impacted the region that the sale of idols had declined to the point that businesses had significantly dropped.
When you start messing with people's money,
Yeah, they mad.
Yeah, this was, remember the book of Acts and Luke. This was why that book was written, right? It's to these Gentile people who are saying, whoa, wait a minute. I know you're not making money, but here's why, right? Those gods, they're not what you want. But if you want to continue this path, just know that you're fighting against God. So, the reality is this is the truth of who God is and what this thing means. So, those two, there's a reason for that book, and this is the reason why.
Right.
Because these cities were struggling for that reason.
Right.
As Gentiles came more into the faith, their norms, the things that they believed and knew and loved, they were being impacted by something more powerful that was drawing people away from their way of life. Now, that also caused violence. Demetrius, a prominent silversmith in the manufacturing of idols, instigated a riot that led to the persecution of Gaius and Aristarchus, who were traveling companions with Paul. The town clerk quelled the riot and commanded the people to return to their homes. Paul may have been describing this persecution when he stated, "I fought with beasts at Ephesus." Paul left the city shortly after this to continue his missionary journey. While in Miletus, Paul called on the elders of Ephesus so that he might warn them to guard the believers from the false prophets and teachers who would come on them. Paul was willing to sacrifice his own life for the good of the saints at Ephesus. What's the date of this one, Pete?
The date of this one, it was around what was after Colossians we got there. It seems because Tiberius is a common bearer of both. He carried the same two letters at the same time.
Tychicus. Yeah.
Tychicus, as well as the contents from the two are similar. Ephesus was during Paul's first imprisonment in Rome, recorded in Acts 28. Date is close affinity to Colossians and Philemon, suggests they ate comparable with these two epistles, so around 62 AD.
Yeah, around 62 AD. So Colossians, Philemon, Ephesians, around the same time.
Yes.
Right, so, Paul was in prison, so...
He had a lot of time to write.
Well, and there were problems, right?
Yep.
So, again, just, let's just settle in on the human aspect of this. He had a mission and a purpose in life.
Right.
And he was trying to get to Rome. And he got there not in the way he imagined. Right? That's another case study that perhaps while you're thinking about Paul's writings, you might think that, be careful what you ask God for. Because, I don't know. I mean, he was going there anyway. It's just part of the plan. But, Paul wanted to be in Rome. That was his goal. He wanted to go preach the gospel. He wanted to be in Rome. And he ended up getting there, and while he was there, he was in prison, right? And that's, I can only imagine how Paul imagined himself to be. Not in Rome, right? I think he wanted to be free among the millions of people, preaching the gospel in the synagogues, enjoying the life of his desired program, right? Going out and making disciples and sending them out to the nations. I mean, think of how strategic Rome is. It's the center of the world at that point, right? Mm-hmm. So, considering this guy's really strategic, this is what he wanted to do. But now he's under lock and key. Yes. And he's fighting to preserve what he had built, what God was building, among the people whom he had visited. And so, these are apologetic documents. So, for us, when you first came into the faith and you started reading the scriptures, at one point, Peter, Nick, did you imagine the early church to be like this amazing version of Christianity that was so really good and people were just totally sold out and really good at it?
I guess not, only because there had been that popular push where everybody, we're going to mirror the first century church, we got to mirror the first century church. Yeah. That had already sort of ridden that wave and died out by the time I was old enough to be cognizant. And so I saw that people were saying, yeah, we do need to go back in certain ways. The wise ones, maybe, you have a lot of common ground with. But at the very least, they were saying, we need to get truer to the meaning of this text. But that doesn't mean that those people had it all together. Yeah. And we don't need to mirror them for the sake of it. But, to your question, the reason I was shown that element was because I knew people who did believe that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I was radically saved because I was saved from a world where none of this was part of my world. Yeah, so when I imagined the world of Jesus, I imagined a place of just utopia or something.
Or at least sold out people who are really good and
just something other than what it really was.
Right.
Yeah. So when I got into these documents and I started reading this, and it dawned on me, and I think this is a really important function of what these documents are about, because it is their function. They're apologetics against false teaching. Yeah. Yes. They're apologetics against bad action. Right. They're apologetics against human nature. Mm-hmm. And they're teaching aids, right? And they're the image of how we're supposed to relate with one another. We can't go around assuming that the church is totally healthy. It's not. Yeah. But what we can do is we can love people enough to talk to them about the things of God and ask for repentance and ask for change and ask for right doctrine. That's what these things are about. So if we rightly understand the word, then we understand that we do have a responsibility to our neighbor. We are our brother's keeper. And Paul is teaching us, right? So he went back to the places where he had been, and he kept touching them. So, all of us out there who would want to have an apologetic, apostolic style ministry, where you go and you teach leaders to teach people, right? That's an apostolic ministry. Right. Just understand you're on the hook. Right. Probably for the rest of your life. Because that leader's going to need help. Right. His people are going to need help. And since you were the authority that started it, you're going to have to go back and see through that. Yes. Right? So, we are the body of Christ as it exists on the earth, right? In us dwells the Spirit. The Spirit is the presence of God. Where God is heaven. It's Eden. It's the place of perfection. And that is an interesting statement because we're not, right? But it's the image of grace and love, that He would share Himself with us. Right. So, these are apologetic documents. Right. Let that sink in, think about it, pray about it, and then move forward in life realizing that, I might need to
I don't have it all together.
Yeah, I might have some lessons to learn, as we've learned from the Old Testament books too, right? People had lessons to learn. So do we, as evidenced by the documents. And that I might have a duty to my neighbor, to my brother, to my sister, to say, hey, let's talk about doctrine. Let's learn with and for and from and to God, right? So, I mean, that's what these documents are about. It's about that continuous pushing, prodding, pulling to get better, to learn more, to have right doctrine. That should not be overlooked in these. And that's exactly what Paul is doing right now for the churches, the leadership of the churches that he's touched, and for their congregations. So, recipients. When Paul labored in Ephesus, it was the great commercial center of Western Asia. Again, so tactical.
Yeah.
Ranking with Antioch and Alexandria as the three greatest trading centers in the Eastern Mediterranean, exporting the gospel. So good. Her prosperity was to a large extent due to the geographical location. She had extensive docks, which might be found ships from every maritime nation of that day. As the western final destination of the great overland route to the Euphrates, so uniting what basically Babylon, right, as we would imagine it from the Old Testament. This place was likely assured of an abundance of trade. It was just a trading hub.
Right, it was the gate between the West and the East.
Yeah.
The Romans
Very
and everybody from the West had to come
cosmopolitan
there.
The gorgeous description of the merchandise of Babylon in Revelation, in all probability, was inspired, probably, by John's personal experience in Ephesus. It was the natural gate by which the Roman governors and visitors from the West entered the province. Under the Romans, Ephesus enjoyed the status of a free city. It had an assembly and council of its own and a governor. The town clerk, keeper of the city records, was an official of great influence and responsibility. The chief glory of Ephesus and its top attraction was its magnificent temple, dedicated to its patron goddess. By the Greeks, she was called Artemis, by the Romans, Diana. The temple was reckoned as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, built in marble. It stood outside of the city walls. The temple, facing the east, was erected on a platform about 425 feet by 240 feet and was reached by a flight of 14 steps. The temple measured 343 feet by 164 feet. It was a very large structure and had more than 100 columns about 60 feet high, 36 of which were beautifully carved. In the inner shrine was the image of the goddess claimed to have fallen from heaven. I want to make a note here because this is important. This is an ode to a religious practice that existed during the time of Abraham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of these.
That's why it's facing
recycled.
east,
Yeah.
right? It's Inanna, the goddess of the Sumerians, the goddess of fertility. This whole world is steeped in ancient beliefs that they're really difficult. Actually, if you study these practices for this city, it is not healthy. But it's ancient, and that's what these Christians are up against, and that's what almost got them killed. So, so Ephesus prided herself on being the temple keeper of the great Artemis. As seen in the case of Demetrius, the worship of Artemis was initially related to business. However, when in AD 262 the temple was destroyed by the Goths, its influence had so far deteriorated that it was never rebuilt. Why? Because of Christianity. Another architectural wonder figuring in the Bible accounts of Ephesus was the great theater located on the west side of Mount Corysus. It was the largest Greek theater in Asia Minor and is reputed to have accommodated 50,000 spectators. Northeast of the theater was the stadium where races were run and wild beast fights were staged. The church of Ephesus was composed of mainly Gentile converts. So here we are. We're back at it again, right? Because the times were changing. Yeah. And so this to me is really interesting because so Jerusalem had a special place in Roman culture because of the temple and because of some previous kings and some of the things that had happened, and how, after Antiochus Epiphanes, the people, having been treated so poorly, were treated well by the Romans, who conquered the Seleucids and the Ptolemaic Empire. It was actually Caesar that gave Jerusalem its place, its freedom, its right to worship and everything. So the real Caesar, right. During this time, the Romans really valued this world, but they saw everything as equal, right? Right. And for the longest time, Judaism tolerated this, right? They didn't go in to Ephesus and try to change this worship. It wasn't interesting to them. Right. They had synagogues and everything there, right? It was fine because it was rabbinic Judaism for the Jewish people. It's very nationalistic. That is what Jesus was fighting against. That's what he stood against. Because how could God's truth stand next to a demonic temple and not fight against it and not stand against it? Because Jesus, being the Son of God, which is the one who has earthly title, the one who's the right ruler, but also the one who is like the image of a man, right? So it was the Son of God and the Son of Man. And the Son of Man is found on the throne in Ezekiel and Daniel in heaven. Yes. So Jesus, being the Son of Man, couldn't stand for this place to be. In his Judaism, conquered that place. It made that temple no longer viable among Gentiles. Wow. I mean, just...
Yeah, that's crazy impactful that it would be that much turning the situation on its head.
Yeah. But for hundreds of years, rabbinic Judaism existed beside that. Right. And that's what Jesus stood against. When he said that they didn't understand him, when they said Abraham rejoiced to see my day, it's because it was a tilted, a wrong version of what Judaism actually is. Jesus' purified Judaism is the key to life. It's the key to overcoming death and hell. And that's what it did here. This is the image of that. Can you imagine, and I just want to labor this because I said earlier that Diana, right, Inanna, that there was a tie between that, because that is 4,000 years before this time. Jesus came into that world and decimated it. That's something.
Yeah.
Among Gentiles, which just blows my mind. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about this guy today. Yes. My last name is Ferguson. I'm not Cohen. You know what I mean? Like it's just so astonishing to me. I'm so proud to know him because he did things that nobody else for thousands of years was able to do, but he did them through us. Wow. I look forward to what he's going to do. So, okay, mainly Gentiles. There were doubtless number of Jewish Christians in its membership. Upon Paul's departure, the church was left to carry on under the leadership of its own elders. Again, apostolic ministry. Set up leadership, set the church up, set the situation up, move on to the next thing. Following his release from the imprisonment of Rome, Paul made another visit to Ephesus, dealt with the difficulties that had arisen in the church, and left Timothy in charge of the supervision of the work. He had set up other leaders. The testimony of the early church fathers say that the Apostle John in his later years took up residence at Ephesus and spent the remaining years of his life supervising the work of the gospel in Asia. In the 7 letters from the risen Lord in Revelation 2 and 3, the Ephesian church was first to be addressed.
Right.
Very strategic place, right? Mm-hmm. So much so that John would go there. Because, I mean, just think about it. Every boat from every nation was present in this place every day. It was the place to export the gospel. It's like the internet today, like YouTube. So,
as well as the caravans coming overland from Asia.
Yeah.
You had them coming in as well.
Yeah, well, you had the tide and to the east and the west, right? The whole known world was available to Paul through his setting up a church, and then John was like, "Hey, great place to set up shop. Let's make it happen." And that's what they did. And in that, I mean, it conquered a temple. Like, that was every man that I know today that doesn't know God would love to go to that temple. It was the place where hedonism was absolutely on display. But it's gone. It lost its favor among people who before that could do nothing more than want to be part of this. And maintained it for probably 1,500 years, 2,000 years. And it came
its roots longer than that.
Way longer than that. Double that. Yeah. Just astonishing. So how do we want to read this, Pete?
In preparation for the reading of Ephesians, it would be beneficial to read Acts 18 through 20.
Chapter 18 24 through chapter 20, verse 28. Yep.
Which gives the basic background of why Paul went there and stuff. You live in a great city of Ephesus that is situated at the mouth of the Cayster River, between the Caucasian mountain range and the Mediterranean Sea. This is a wonderful location for the important importation of commercial products. The city has many roads that connect to its various trade routes. Although the finest glory of the city is in the past, Ephesus is a center where the cultures of the world are experienced. The Temple of Artemis is one of the main attractions of the city. The temple is 4 times the size of the Parthenon in ancient Greece. Athens. The worshippers Christianity has now come to the city through the ministries of Priscilla, Aquila, and Apollos. Side note there, Priscilla's a female.
Yeah.
In the Jewish tradition, she wouldn't have even been counted as a person.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that took place, and changes that took place in general, where Jesus really, again, the purified Judaism of Jesus, it's different, but it's not. It's just different. Right. He saw through things, and he was able to affect change in ways that nobody's ever done. And look, what is creation? Men and women, right? Right. And we were created to be one. It's the image of God. Women have so much importance, and they're absolutely precious in the eyes of the Lord. And without them, men are not full. We're not whole. Yeah. We need the challenge of being married. Right. We need the feedback. We need the resources that women have. Right. There's no procreation without a woman. No. But without a man, there's no procreation for a woman. Right. She can't on her own create a child. It's just not the right coding, right? But the two of us together, we have the right coding. We become one. It's literal, it's physical, it's spiritual. In this part of the world, this idea, like what you were just speaking about, Jesus restored the dignity of women. he gave the Spirit to all equally, right? And it is worth noting. Thank you for bringing that up, because women are special and important and loved along with men, and we're not greater or lesser. What is the saying? There's no female nor male nor Greek nor Scythian nor Jew nor slave nor free, because in God we're all one. We're His image.
Right.
When we go back to Genesis, I can't wait actually to go back to Genesis. We've got to get through Job first, which we're going to do momentarily here. But when we go back to Genesis, we're going to do the creation thing, and you would be surprised how many petals are in that onion. There are many. All right, keep going. What are we reading this for?
Paul is now in prison. You missed learning about the sound doctrine that he was taught when he was in Ephesus in God's name. Your heart yearns to understand a greater knowledge of your salvation and life in Jesus Christ. You read so that you might understand the blessings of salvation. You desire to know more about God's election, adoption, redemption, and forgiveness.
Key verse, Nick?
This is Ephesians 2:19-22. It says, "So then you are no longer strangers and aliens, but you are fellow citizens with the saints, and are of God's household, having been built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the cornerstone, in whom the whole building, being fitted together, is growing into a holy temple in the Lord, in whom you are also built together into a dwelling of God in the Spirit."
What was the foundation?
The foundation? Not the cornerstone. Jesus was the cornerstone. The foundation of the apostles and the prophets.
The apostles and the prophets.
Yeah.
It's almost like the Old Testament matters.
I should have known you were going back to that. When you first asked the foundation, I almost said Jesus, because that's what I would have focused on. Jesus is the cornerstone. But no, wait, what's the foundation? Of course, Roger.
The Old Testament.
That's not a dig.
It's these little clues, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's these little clues. And who is Paul telling this to? A bunch of Gentiles. You know? He's saying, listen, I know that a bunch of rabbinic Judaism guys have been coming around here telling you got to look just like them or you can't be part of it. But you know what? You're no longer strangers or aliens.
Right.
Strangers and aliens. What are goy to a bunch of rabbinic Jews but strangers or aliens? This is an extremely Jewish argument.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Right. It is. It's also, though, it's that and because they're still surrounded by all this stuff, right? That was the point of us going through the recipients. And
the onion, you can peel it back a whole bunch of ways, but this is from a Jewish mind telling these people, and you're right. Stack it on top of that.
Yeah.
You have been grafted in. You're no longer strangers and aliens to the covenant.
So that's what I'm saying, though. It's a double meaning. It's saying you're not to be rejected by these rabbinic Judaizers.
The prophets promised to you something.
Right. And if you're not strangers and aliens, then you can't be participating in this stuff that strangers and aliens do in this place.
They had to give it up.
Right.
And they did.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just so overjoyed by that, because it was so wrong. The stuff they were just mistreating their bodies. Really just disgusting stuff. I'm sorry, reader or listener, but okay, so the argument is Paul argues that Jews and Gentiles are saved and united as one church body. And the exalted Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, by the will of God. So here we are today. We're looking at the book of Ephesians, and we're talking about what we were. We were these people, right?
Right.
My ancestors went into the area of, what was the first book? I'm drawing a blank right now.
First book.
The first book that we talked about.
Colossians.
No. Galatians.
Galatians.
My
the
ancestors.
first book for the question was too broad. Okay, I got
Sorry.
you. No, it's good.
It made perfect sense in my mind.
Yeah.
So my ancestors went to Galatia, right? And we carried with us our magic and our spells and our Norse worship and our Celtic beliefs and all these things. And he saved us.
Right.
He changed us.
I'm really glad you're getting back to this too, because earlier you threw in that you're Ferguson and didn't complete the thought. So now we're full circle here.
Yeah.
Full circle.
My ancestors were grafted in
Right.
because God was kind to us.
Yeah.
Because Jesus was powerful enough to do it.
Right.
He was powerful enough to overcome the goddess Inanna from Sumer.
Right.
That was, well, from now 6,000 some odd years ago. And her worship, I mean, they still worship a fertility goddess. There's still sects around there that do that thing.
Yeah.
But not in Ephesus. That
Right.
temple's gone.
Right.
And I just find that astonishing. And I'm so thankful again to know the Lord. So I pray for you, the listener, and for us in this room that we would come to know Him more and find a love for not only the apostles, but the prophets, because those promises are for us. I pray that love would enter you so strongly that you just have more desire to know the history and to know what the actual promises are and how they existed and for what reason and what they mean today, especially in light of Jesus' Jewishness. I pray that just sinks into us so deep and that we seek to understand that so earnestly. And I pray that we become the one new body, both Jew and Gentile, and that we start to make our Jewish neighbors jealous by the faith that we have through the actions that we take, and that they can't wait to join us. Thank you for listening to us. It's been another great episode. This is Modern Mind Ancient Book. Reach out to us at modernmindancientbook@gmail.com. May the Lord bless you and keep you and make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you and bring you peace.